Galloway joins us now. Tottenham fan Lord Sugar is amongst those who've spoken out against the former Labour MP, calling him a racist and a piece of trash. And he joins us live from his home in Essex this morning. George, if you had just stopped before making mention of the Israel flag, it would have been all right. Why did you have to put that in?
It's like being lectured by the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
What, me asking you that question?
No, Lord Sugar sitting there in his expansive drawing room. This man who tweeted the most outrageous, racist trash at the time of the World Cup about the Senegal football team. To answer your question directly, I call out the Israel flag every time I see it, whether Tommy Robinson and the EDL are carrying it, or the loyalists in East Belfast, or the football fans at Rangers or at Tottenham Hotspur.
Why do you call out the Israel flag?
Because it is an Israel flag.
But why do you call it out?
Why do I call it out? Because it's the flag of apartheid. I have spent 45 years fighting for the Palestinian people. So if you feel like me, and millions do, I assure you, including many watching this morning, you have to call it out.
But you also know, George, you also know that Tottenham Hotspur has famously a very large Jewish following. Many of the fans will show an Israel flag from time to time. They're very proud of it. They're very proud of their Jewish heritage. And there's no doubt that when you first see that tweet that you do, as Tottenham Hotspur rightly said, as Lord Sugar and other prominent Jews in this country have said, it just looked blatantly anti-Semitic.
What's Israel got to do with Judaism? Many Jews in Britain and in the world are completely against Israel.
And many are not.
Well, and many are not.
And
I'm against Israel.
But you're entitled
There's
to...
no point in arguing about this, Piers. You know my position, I know yours. I'm against Israel.
You've been fired. You've been fired for choosing a moment of a football match.
Yeah. In which I'd just been watching all these Israel flags being flown.
Right, but the implication, whether you like it or not, was that to the Jewish following of Tottenham Hotspur, this is the implication they took, is that you were choosing that moment to gloat that actually a Jewish-supported football club had failed to win the Champions League. You know that?
No, I don't know it. It's false. This is not Alice in Wonderland where you get to choose what words mean whenever you like. The words are the words.
You've been fired for those words.
Well, look, I haven't been paid for more than 2 months, and my producer got sacked on Friday night before the show, so there's much more to this than you know, but you will know all of it. Ever since Ofcom found against my show some months ago on the Skripal affair and on the Jeremy Corbyn affair, 2 counts, the show's been in special measures. But I don't want to dwell on talk radio because I've already moved on. But
many people see the delegitimisation of the Israeli state as anti-Semitic.
Well,
that your issue
is a trick. It's a trick.
With Jewish people.
It's a trick that they play, and they always play it. Who said that to me? Shulamit Aloni, a cabinet minister in an Israeli government, over dinner in her house in Tel Aviv.
You can have an issue with the Israeli government or the Israeli leader, but why an issue with the Israeli...
It's a trick they
Israel
play.
As a country.
They brand anyone who supports the Palestinians as an anti-Semite. She told me, it's a trick we play. Now, they've done it to Jeremy Corbyn, they've done it to Bernie Sanders, to Chris Williamson, a list as long as you're
George, let me again...
But it doesn't wash much
but
anymore.
George, here's what doesn't wash either. And I've known you a long time. I like you personally. I respect you in many ways, right? On this, as an Arsenal fan, I've got no truck with Tottenham fans whatsoever, except this. Arsenal has a large Jewish following too, right? We're 2 North London teams set in areas with lots of Jewish people living them, right? I was offended on behalf of Tottenham fans. I was, because... Actually, there was no need for you to make a political point about Israel in a hashtag about a football match.
No, because
actually, it looked like you were delighted.
Well, why were they waving?
You weren't delighted that Tottenham had lost because they played badly or you're an Arsenal fan. You were delighted they lost because of their connections to Jewish people and to Israel.
Well, this is Alice in Wonderland.
It's not Alice in Wonderland.
You're inferring things that aren't there in black and white.
I'm inferring things that actually are there in black and white, George.
You know, they're not. The words in black and white...
You literally put it in black and white.
Black and white, Israel flags. That's nothing to do with Jewish people.
Why did you need to make that point?
Because I had been watching those Israel flags being waved all evening.
You were watching
as hundreds of millions.
So here's my point to you, George. You were watching Jewish fans.
They weren't. How do you know they were Jewish? Tommy Robinson isn't Jewish when he walks down the road.
You think the people that were waving Jewish?
They almost certainly weren't Jewish, and you know that very well too.
Right. So
you almost certainly weren't Jewish.
But you don't know who they were.
It's a political flag.
You don't know who they were.
I just know what the flag is.
Right. I would argue it is highly
apartheid.
Right. I would argue it is highly likely that the people that were putting up Israel flags in the Tottenham crowd were probably Jewish, right?
And therefore, it flies in the face of all evidence.
Well, you don't know. You have no idea.
But you
don't think they were.
I read Lord Finkelstein on this very subject. He says that the great majority of people singing what they sing, shouting what they shout, waving what they wave, are not Jewish. But I don't care if they're Jewish or not Jewish. It's the flag I'm against.
No, it's
and I'm
the
against
country
it
you're against.
because it flutters over the Gaza fence when little children are being murdered every Friday by snipers.
Right. And
that's why I'm against it.
And they would say, what about all the rockets that get fired by Hamas the other way? What do you say to that?
Because they were killing those children before Hamas ever existed.
But you have a position.
They've been killing them since 1948.
You have a famous position on this, right?
Yes.
Everybody knows your position on it. It is completely one-sided. That's entirely your right. What I don't think is your right is to put a hashtag like that on a night that Tottenham lose a game, which, if you're a Jewish fan of Tottenham, you take as a personal insult in an anti-Semitic manner.
Take a look at my Twitter line and you'll see a significant number of Jewish people absolutely supporting it.
And I've seen a significant number of Jewish people enraged and furious.
Most Jewish
and what they
people,
see at a time in this country, George, at a time in this country...
Anti-Semitic attacks
no,
are on the rise, George Galloway.
Don't talk to me about attacks. I'll show you my scars.
Right.
Don't talk to me about attacks. Muslims are attacked in Britain. 10, 20 times more than Jewish people are.
But you
don't talk about it. You don't want to talk about it. Don't talk to me about attacks. I can show you my scars, literally. Anti-Semitism, anti-Muslimism, anti-Blackism, anti-Irishism are foul, evil poison.
All of them.
And the difference is I stand against all of it.
All right.
All of it.
All right, George, thank you. We're going to go to Lord Sugar now. Lord Sugar, former chairman of Spurs. You were brought up in a Jewish family. You've heard what George Galloway has to say. What do you say about this?
Well, he's talking a load of garbage, as usual. First of all, Piers, you've been to Tottenham with me when I've invited you there with your dad. I was at the Champions League game this week. I walked with 1,500 Tottenham fans and Liverpool fans from where they dropped me off because we couldn't get the car straight up to the thing. I did not see, and I have never seen, an Israeli flag flown. There was no Israeli flags with the fans. The fans had their blue and white stuff. They had all that. Never seen an Israeli flag flown. So he's a bloody liar, a total liar. He's hanging on the Israeli flags being flown.
Never heard of Google?
A complete
Just
and utter
Google
liar.
it and you'll see hundreds of them.
All right, Lord Sugar, let me ask you...
Just shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth for a minute.
Let's keep it civilised.
Just shut your mouth for a minute. Let someone else
Lord
talk.
Sugar, let me ask you this.
Just shut your mouth for a minute.
Let me ask you this. On the assumption that Israel flags have occasionally been flown in Tottenham crowds, right? Let's assume that for a moment. Would you find what George Galloway said about Israel as a state and its flag, why is that anti-Semitic to you?
Well, look, first of all, Piers, what his opinion is on Israel, which is a separate country to England and Palestine, that's his opinion. He's entitled to it, OK? The fact that he put it in a tweet associated with the Champions League game was for one reason and one reason only. He is an anti-Semite, as simple as that. Everybody knows, as you've quite rightly stated, that we have a great following of Jewish fans, just like Arsenal do, because we're in North London, OK? So it was absolutely designed to show that he's an anti-Semite, because what has Israel got to do with the Champions League game? What has Israel got to do with, and Palestine problem got to do with a game of football between us and Liverpool? It was absolutely designed to mean what it does and what everybody else has interpreted it to be. He's an absolute vehement anti-Semite. Bottom line, end of story. And that's why we're all so upset about it.
He said, and he has a point, that you yourself tweeted something that many people took, it was a joke, as you put it, but many people took it as racially insensitive and bordering on racist. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember that occasion last year. It was a terrible mistake. It was meant as a joke, a bit like, it was meant as a joke. We've spoken about it before. I apologised immediately. And I'd like him now to have the guts, or live on television, to apologise to the Jewish fans of Tottenham Hotspur, or in fact the Jewish fans of Arsenal or anywhere, or the Jewish fans of Liverpool also, for making that inappropriate remark.
Well, George, let me put it this way to you.
He didn't, by the way, apologise for it immediately. He defended it resolutely.
Well, he said
4 days
before
he
apologised. Actually, that's not true.
Why don't you shut your mouth?
I saw his
shut your mouth.
It's not true that it took days. He actually responded within hours, and he did apologise, right? The point being this, though. Let's reverse this situation for a moment, right? Let's say that there was an Arab football team that had got to a Champions League final, right? And when they lost, Lord Sugar had tweeted, at least we won't see any Palestine flags flying, right, on the cup. You would have been outraged and defended. Yes, you would. Why pretend otherwise? You would have said that was a Jewish attack on the Arab people.
My team, Celtic, got heavily fined because a significant section of the Celtic crowd waved Palestinian flags. If Alan Sugar had said, if Celtic in the unlikely event had lost a cup final, there'll be no Palestinian flags on the cup, that would have been an attack on the Palestinian political entity and its flag. And that would have been his right, and he would have done it.